Today marks World Ranger Day. It's a day to commemorate the many rangers killed or injured in the line of duty. It's also the day to celebrate rangers and the work they do to protect the world's natural and cultural treasures. And with the plight of wildlife poaching and the risk of escalating endangered animals, this job could not be more important right now. It also offers the youth a chance to make a difference to the wider world and to the world of wildlife. Now, joining us in studio is award-winning wildlife television presenter and filmmaker, Bonnie De Bod. Very good morning, Bonnie. Always nice to have you back with us here at Newsroom.
Good morning, Eben. It's nice to be here.
Important day, World Ranger Day.
Right.
Just give us a quick overview about why do you think this day should be more important even?
You know, Eben, there is a famous quote that says, conservation is the most noble cause in the world today. And I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. All over the world, game rangers, both men and women, from all different nationalities, are really the thin green line protecting our wildlife areas on the planet. Now, of course, it's not just conservation these days. The world has changed dramatically for our rangers in the past decade. In the past, the ranger's job was purely conservation, dealing with tourists. Never really an enforcement role. And I think most of the rangers' efforts now are spent in a military-style anti-poaching effort, and sadly many rangers lose their lives while protecting our heritage.
Tell us a little bit about the day-to-day lives of rangers now. I don't think people have the idea that it's now almost a kind of paramilitary role that they have to play, and how dangerous it is and how difficult conditions must be for them.
You know, they face similar scenarios to soldiers in combat. Injury, death. They are exposed to deeply disturbing scenes, and then of course with each poached carcass it's that frustrating disappointment at failure. They operate in the bush under very severe physical conditions, often with lack of equipment, adequate equipment, pay, support, and then when they're not on the battleground they're testifying in court. But even though they deal with this on a daily basis, according to Major General Ewerster in Kruger Park, not one ranger has quit.
The thing that we're also seeing is that poaching is becoming a little bit more sophisticated. Poachers are carrying heavy artillery and so forth, and this in itself must make their lives a whole lot more difficult.
No, absolutely. We have international criminal syndicates who are putting our wilderness areas in red alert. And the thing is, rangers are tracking poachers day in and day out. They do not know if they will survive the day, see their families again. And I mean that, I've seen rangers who are suffering from stress disorders because of the fact that they find themselves in a combat zone, the trauma they see on a daily basis. If we look at statistics, in 2015 alone, at least 41 of Africa's rangers have been reported to the International Ranger Federation as having been killed in the line of duty. It's terrible.
That's an absolute shocker. Now, the thing that stands out for me in recent times is that, and it sort of sends the message to the rangers, I would think, is that Sandparks, they've launched a grenade launcher. Now, I mean, that's a proper combat, military combat weapon.
It takes it to a new level, doesn't it? So yes, Kruger received under-barrel grenade launchers last week. Now, in their press briefing, they said this will enable the rangers to do or to handle different scenarios differently. Now, what that exactly means, I don't know. A lot of people were very upset about this announcement, saying that we shouldn't go about blowing things up in our beloved Kruger. But I do think that we should give our rangers every opportunity to level the playing field.
Now, Bonnie, let's talk about poaching, where we are right now. It seems at times as if you take one step forward and two steps back a little bit. As many rhino are dying as before. Are we losing?
I get asked that question quite a lot. It's a difficult one because it's not as simple as a yes or no. It's a war. It's absolutely a war. A complex war on poaching is being waged. You know, we must understand that rhino horn is the most valuable commodity on earth today.
Yeah.
We have the place with the most rhinos on earth today. So, of course, criminal syndicates will infiltrate our country. So I think that's important to remember. But what's also important to remember is that we cannot give up. You know, we cannot have rhino fatigue, because if we expect the rangers and the vets and the state prosecutors to not give up, to not get tired, how dare we as the public give up?
Now, you mentioned international crime syndicates becoming more sophisticated, but in South Africa itself, we have communities that have developed infrastructure, if one can call it that, to aid and abet in these crimes. Is it not time for us to take a harder look at what's happening in the small towns around these conservation areas like the Kruger Park, and how people are advancing themselves there?
Absolutely. You know, I've always said this. We need to work with the communities adjacent to our national parks. You know, on a local level, it starts with poverty. So it's a very complex issue, and I'm looking at all of these things in my documentary film Stroop to really put out the full picture for the public.
Now tell us where you are. I want to know where you are with regards to rhino farming, because you know the world is talking rhino farming up quite a bit. John Hume is out. John Hume is talking about, yes, this is going to be the magic bullet that will help. Of course, those against say, no, you'll create an even bigger market for the poachers and for rhino horn globally. What do you say to that?
That's a tough one. We have, of course, people on the one side that's pro-trade, and then on the other side we have people that's anti-trade. So it's a complex issue. We are looking at both sides. We need to remain neutral. We need to listen to both theories, because I think there are good things about both of them. And the farming of rhinos is another very complex issue. We know that the moratorium was lifted. The private rhino owners, Johan Kruger and other private farmers, obviously took the minister to court. She appealed it, lost the appeal, but you know, then we must also just take a moment and know that we need a permit system. So there's a lot of questions being asked. How will the permit system work? Will they be able to control it if we look at the current situation? So many questions will be asked, but we need to look at it, and it's things I look at in the film.
That's what I wanted to ask you about rhino farming. Is there an element in the film about it? Because we always hear the positives about rhino farming. We hear about, oh, a rhino horn grows back 15 times in a lifetime, which means this can sustain rhino and so forth. How do you reflect it in the movie?
I can't give you detail because I need you to go watch the movie. But yes, we look at rhino farming. I mean, I did interviews with John Hume. I've spent some time on his farm. I went to Limpopo. I've spent a lot of time with private rhino owners. They take on the local moratorium, international trade. So, but at the end of the day, you know, we need to all be on the same page. You know, I always say we can't give up, but we will only win this if we can move forward, but on the same page.
In conclusion, let's come back to today. Today is World Ranger Day. You've spent a lot of time out in the field working with rangers for the movie, but also on other projects you've worked on. Tell us a little bit about the experience, and how do you reflect, and what's your message to them today?
I think what a lot of people don't know is that the rangers don't go and patrol for the day and then they go home at night. As Nicholas Funda, head ranger in Kruger Park, said, you know, poachers don't operate 8 to 4. So our rangers are being deployed 7 days at a time, even longer sometimes. So they spend a lot of time away from home. I went to spend some time with these units to try and capture the battleground on camera. And I can tell you, even though the wilderness may look beautiful, it is incredibly tough out there. You know, I'm talking about difficult terrain. We are talking about lack of sleep. And it's almost impossible to get warm at night because of the lack of movement. You have to be as still as possible. And then the thing of silence, they go into silence for the duration of the night. If there is an incursion into the park, this is the unit that will respond. Now, I won't go into detail because of security reasons, but this may lead to contact with poachers. And interesting to note, Eben, according to statistics, the life of a ranger is more prone he's more prone to actually not make it in his line of work than a special agent in the FBI.
Wow.
So that's something to think about, absolutely.
It's something we all have to think about today. Bonnie, thank you for coming in and sharing World Rhino Day with us. Yes, it's a tough job. It's become even tougher in recent times as the poaching crisis escalates here in South Africa, but also the rest of the continent. And it's all of us, yes, you at home as well. We need to make that contribution.